Because of the impact of Shrek 1, Shrek has become a massive franchise. It's got video games, trading cards, toys, drawings. It's got everything. That is a big green ogre. That's Shrek. You know there's got to be a sequel up in the air. And that's where Shrek 2 comes in, released 3 years later after Shrek 1. Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz all demanded an increase in their salaries of $10 million. Voice actors don't make jank shit in the industry compared to actual actors. But because these are A-list actors, of course they're going to give them $10 million. I mean, what else? Come on. Since Shrek 1 was innovative for Pacific Data Images to revolutionize the use of computer animation, they decided to flex harder by amplifying it with fur effects. The technical achievement of fur effects helped the use of the creation of the character Puss in Boots, a new addition to the franchise who's actually one of my personal favorite characters because of the recent film that just came out, but we'll get to that. Everything else was just amped up. They amped up the pop culture references, they amped up the middle finger to Disney, the animation. They knew they wanted to make this better than the first Shrek, and they did. But personally, I prefer the first Shrek a lot more because my only problem with Shrek 2 is how they handled the character Fiona. I feel like they kind of didn't do shit with her in Shrek 2. I mean, don't get me wrong. In the beginning of the film, they definitely were trying to do something with Fiona. But by the time they get to a certain point, I just felt like they didn't really focus her or didn't really need to do much with her character at all. I feel like she was just better in the first Shrek movie. That's just a hot take. It's a hot take. I still like Shrek 2. Everything else is great. It has a killer soundtrack. I remember as a kid loving the soundtrack. Before I even saw Shrek 2, I was just jamming out every day when my mom was driving me around to the dentist and school and to other places I didn't want to go to as a little kid. Seeing Shrek 2 in theaters was a nostalgic experience. I loved it. It has probably the best climax in cinema history. I'm just telling you, that climax is just massive perfection.
Come on!
Nothing can top the climax of Shrek 2. Where else could they go with it? Will they make a third film and just call it the Shrek trilogy and just leave it up from there? Then Shrek 3 happened and the world ended. Shrek 3 fucking sucked. Yeah, I'm one of those people that used to like Shrek the Third. But then, when I discovered more of what people hate about it, I started to get it. I think Shrek the Third is the worst Shrek movie. And I can tell you why Shrek the Third is bad. One, they don't do shit of improving the animation. It's like they just recycled the same shit from Shrek 2 and nothing else. Using the same character models we've seen before. Also, Prince Charming was shit. Fucking hated him in Shrek 2. I fucking hated him more in Shrek the Third. And then there's King Arthur, who literally looks like Prince Charming. I'm not joking. Thought it was the same person. Everything else just didn't really move much of a Shrek sequel. It felt like filler. There were some funny jokes, but it felt like recycled jokes. Funny enough, original concept for Shrek 2 that would have been perfect for Shrek the Third was there was going to be an election of who was going to be the king of far, far away. It was going to be kind of an allegory of the presidential election that was going on at the time. But the executives thought it was just too smart, so they decided not to go with it. And so that's how we got Shrek the Third, a movie that just should not even exist. In fact, you can even skip it, and you won't miss much for what the next Shrek movie is. Now we get to the final Shrek movie. Of now, we believe Shrek 5 is still in development. Shrek Forever After was Shrek Endgame. My major problem with Shrek Forever After, I think it wasn't that funny. It was probably the least funniest Shrek movie. I didn't laugh. There was none of the iconic pop culture references that I would expect from the Shrek movies. It was all gone. But that serious tone definitely made it up for a killer story. Even though it's a Wonderful Life, I think this was a great fit for a final Shrek film, for something that a bunch of people wanted to come up with something grand and big for the Shrek franchise. And they definitely did. Pacific Data Images didn't come back for this one. Apparently they were too busy making a Madagascar movie or Megamind. I don't know. It was done by a different animation division, and you could definitely tell this had a different animation style. I will say, it is a bit better than we got from the other Shrek movies, but I don't think it revolutionized anything in the animation industry when it comes to CGI. The idea of Shrek going into a world where he doesn't exist is a crazy idea, because you basically can rewrite some characters that felt like needed justice. And what will be better rewritten than Princess Fiona? I gotta say, Princess Fiona in Shrek Forever After was basically the best they ever came up with that character. Improvement from Shrek 2. This character definitely had onion layers. And they definitely did stuff with Donkey too, and Puss in Boots. Obviously they gotta do the fat cat humor, but they also introduced a bunch of ogres. A civilization of ogres. My favorite ogre is Cookie.
Wait, what's this?
That's my chimichanga stand.
No, Cookie. We won't be needing that.
Trust me, Fiona, y'all are gonna be really hungry after this ambush, okay?
Also, the Do the Roar scene is pretty iconic.
Do the roar!
I almost forgot to talk about the villains. The villains in the Shrek movies, I gotta say, are interesting. Lord Farquaad is definitely my favorite. Then I like Rumpelstiltskin because of how smart and intelligent he is, but also could be a bit comedic as well. And then I like Fairy Godmother. And then Prince Charming is just garbage. This seemed like the final Shrek movie. It had a Shrek Endgame moment. It definitely left a massive impact on the Shrek industry. And Shrek was finally done. For now.
What are you talking about, cracker?